Funky.
At some point, I said to myself, look, not that I would say I had an epiphany, but I guess while I was incarcerated, I came to terms with the fact that I might have been a bad kid, but I wasn't evil. You know what I mean? Like, that's some shit in hip hop that people think is cool, being evil. And I say, yo, you know what? Listen, I've been around evil people, and I know the difference. Like, some of my brothers that was there for just being wild and crazy, they may have looked like a stereotypical criminal. Big black dude, Mexican cat with tattoos on them, the type that Hollywood would throw out there for people in middle America to be terrified of. But the people that were there for some of the craziest shit were just normal looking dudes. Regular ass cat like that. Like, I'm gonna fucking kill your family. And it was just like, yo, the nigga had blown his wife's head off. You know, the other nigga shot at 5-0, somebody raped a deaf girl and bashed her skull in. And it was, they didn't look scary. That was the part that fucked me up. And when I was a kid, you know what I mean? So I'm coming in there as a child into prison practically. And I'm just like, wow, these people that look like they are in line about to buy gummy bears, like, this person's a psycho. And I think that that's when I really came to terms with the fact that we may all talk about evil things in the world, but I have no shame telling people I'm not an evil person, and that's not something I seek out. Do we all have bouts where we wrestle our demons? Absolutely, myself included. I'm prone to be angry at times, like anybody else. I'm prone to get violent if I'm pushed. I'm prone to do a lot of things. I'm not a perfect human being, but if I strive to understand my surroundings, and at least if I don't use that as an excuse to forgive people, but to understand them for how they are, you know, I think that helps me in a lot of ways. Like, there was a time when I had a lot of selective morality, like when I was locked up. We'd be like, I could sit down with you if you're a murderer, but you know, if you're a rapist or a child molester, I can't deal with you. Not that I would break bread with any of those people now, unless there was some circumstance that we really had to go in depth about. But at least I understand that situation better. You know, at least now I can look back and say, it's not my place to judge, but at the same time, I understand what happened to you. I understand the reason that you're probably like that is because somebody did that to you when you were a child. Now, you know what? That doesn't mean that I want you in my neighborhood. That doesn't mean that I want you near my children. That doesn't mean that if you don't look at my daughter the wrong way, I'm not gonna fucking strangle you, my nigga. It means that you have about that much of understanding for me. And I think that if we can even get to a point, and I just use that one tiny point in saying, if we can acknowledge somebody else's pain, no matter who it is, you know, from any walk of life, from anywhere in the world, if we're willing as a human being to acknowledge somebody else's suffering, not even to say, you know, that that's right or it's wrong, just to say, I acknowledge that you're in pain, I acknowledge that you're suffering. I think that opens the door to communication, you know. I've known people on both sides of the Israeli-Palestine thing, and I've said, can you acknowledge that these other people are suffering? Can you acknowledge that there may be a disproportionate amount of suffering, but people are suffering on both sides? And at some point when they've been willing to acknowledge that is when I've gotten the most out of people, you know. Even the ones that say, hey, I'm completely against, you know, immigration or something like that, oh, you should all deport them all back. And then I say to them, okay, let me ask you a question. Let's talk about real suffering. I've known people that are not citizens of this government, you know, not citizens of America. And yet they're fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. People from El Salvador and from Mexico. And I tell them honestly, do you think that their families aren't suffering? Do you think that because they don't have some piece of paper that says that they're an American, but they have a uniform that say that they're a United States Marine, do you think that they're not suffering? Tell me that right now. And every conservative hack, even the ones that have the credentials to talk, have been like, no, you're right, those people are suffering. And that opens up a greater line of questioning. Then what did you do to become an American? You know, what did you do when it was your time to serve in Vietnam? Mr. Congressman, because plenty of congressmen that I've known that have been those chicken hawk, let's go to war, let's do this. When it was your time, you chose to dip out. When it was your time to show and prove, maybe not a war that you agreed with. I don't agree with this war, but I appreciate the service of those people that have been a part of this. That's why me and Ali were perfectly willing to allow the Iraq War Veterans for Peace to be up here. That's why they're here, because we believe in that message. Even though I don't agree with the war, I embrace those people that have been, destroyed by it. Because everybody that comes home from war ends up being destroyed by it in some way, shape, or form. I mean, that's the myth, that if you survive the war, that you're untouched by it. No, dude, I've known people that come home that say, yo, I close my eyes and I see this little girl we buried, we shot somebody and I know they weren't an insurgent, it was a regular dude, he got caught in a crossfire, I had to mop his brains up. Like, they can train you all day long to look at somebody as an object or to dehumanize a human being, because that's what any entity needs to do in order to get you to do whatever they want. You as a human being, if you keep saying somebody's name over and over, it's harder to kill them. That's what they do when they go into those crisis situations where people come in to negotiate. They keep saying somebody's name. Why? Because it's harder for a human being to knowingly kill someone that's just like them. They have to say, oh, that's a Haji, or that's a gook from Vietnam, or some other racist term. They have to use racism or classism or something that separates them. You're human, but you're not quite as human as us. And I think that when that dissipates and you rob somebody of that, then all they're forced to deal with is, I'm killing myself. I'm killing a man whose mother looked just like my mother. I'm killing a dude who had a father just like I did. Maybe he wasn't there like my dad was. Maybe he was there and my dad wasn't. I'm killing somebody's father. You know what I mean? That makes it very difficult. And that's why talking monkeys don't like to do that. But ask yourself, who just tapped out of the serial war? Our little buddy that goes to war with us everywhere, over anything, with anyone, says, hey, guess what, America? When we made this deal a long time ago, Syria, that's not our slice.